So, hi everyone. So I'm not Alekos. I have less hair than him, but unfortunately he had some shadow issue and asked me to, he asked someone who has some experience with Nix, and I run Nixos on my laptop, and I run Nixos on my servers, and I like it very much. So I took the call, and here's Nix-Bitcoin. So what is Nix? Does anybody use Nix here? Okay, one, okay. So we start introducing a little bit Nix. So Nix is a declarative programming language, but it's also a package manager like Brew on Mac or apt or RPM. But also something more than a package manager, because you can have also modules that define services, so something like a systemd service, for example. And Nixos is the Linux distribution based on this on Nix, the programming language, and the package manager, and the configuration of Nix. So why Nix? The thing that I'm falling in love with before using it was this idea of reproducibility. So basically, when you have a system, you have your libraries, your compiler, your executables, and many times it's hard to keep different versions of libraries active at the same time. Sometimes you install something that breaks something else. Sometimes it doesn't break something else, but it doesn't work because you don't have the library necessary for that. And the Nix has this approach that basically everything that is needed by Nix is inside the Nix store. So your /Nix/store directory. And everything inside this directory is basically in a directory or in a file that it's an hash of its content. So you can have multiple versions of a library without an issue. And also, everything in the store must reference something in the store. So you cannot reference something in USR lib, for example. Something more about this later on. And also because it's declarative, basically your entire operating system is defined in configuration files. The first one is this etc nixos./configuration.nix, which define your system. What is Nix packages? Is the GitHub repository of package and modules definition, like the official one. And for example, you can search software on this. This is not a link. So let's say we search for Bitcoin and we can find Bitcoin nodes, ABC, Bitcoin with the version. So there is this concept of channel. So 25.05 is the last stable channel, and then you have the unstable channel where versions are a little bit more recent. For example, you have Bitcoin 30. What is Nix-Bitcoin instead? Basically, it's Nix packages which is specific for Bitcoin-related stuff, with an accent on security and privacy by default. The repository is here. Basically, you have some information here. The overview, a lot of ways to get started. You can choose many ways to use this repository. The equivalent of the search on Nix package on Nix-Bitcoin is this one. So you can search. We will see what this means, but you can search option here. We will see how to use this later on. So as I was saying, there are multiple ways to use it. You can spin up, if you have Mac or Linux, you can spin up a virtual machine with Nixos to try to test it out as a container. You can use Flake, which basically are the new way of defining packages on Nix. The high-level difference is that the Nix packages define everything inside a GitHub repository, so you have to, if you want your software to be distributed by Nix package, you have to do a pull request with the Nix source code to build your repository inside the Nix package GitHub repository that we saw before. With the Flake, you usually define a file inside your own repository with the Nix instruction of how to build your software. There are other differences, but as high level, that's the difference. Or you can just, if you use Nixos, you can just use it in your base system. Usually people are, at least me, you're a little bit scared of mess up with your system directly. One of the reasons why we have virtual machine or Docker or something else. Nixos does these nice things that basically every time you change your configuration, you build your system configuration, and if something goes wrong, you can basically roll back to the previous working version of your system. Even if your system became unusable, you can reboot the machine, and you have a grab menu where you can choose the previous generation, is called. So basically, a generation is defining your entire system. For example, all the program you want in your path are sim-linked from your system to the relative position in the Nix store. So from these ways, we are going to trust Nix and try to change my Nixos laptop configuration to try to use some software from Nix-Bitcoin. So to do that, we have to introduce the concept of a channel. Basically, a channel are, like we saw before, you have the stable version, 25.05 version of Nix package. Then you have the unstable, which is a little bit more updated, but more risky in a sense. So we are going to see which channels I have on my machine. So we have the home manager. We are not talking about it right now. We have Nixos, which is the basic one, the unstable. So you basically are the place where you can fetch software from. And we can see that we have also took the Nix-Bitcoin channel by adding it. And basically, you can take that URL directly from the GitHub page. From release, you can just point directly to master, or you can use like basically the source code of the GitHub repository. And then after that, you have to call update, where it's the equivalent of an apt update, for example. So you get the most recent version. If you already done that, it's pretty fast. Otherwise, it downloads the repository, which basically contains all the Nix files to build the software. So after we have the channel, we can reference the channel in the configuration.nix. So this is basically the file that defines my operating system. We have some imports, so other files that are imported in this definition. Here we have some other settings, the open ports on my firewall, some configuration of hosts, and some stuff like that. You can put whatever your configuration settings. If my laptop burn, I have this configuration on a GitHub repository, I push it in my new laptop, and the system comes back the same as I like it. So I can insert, okay, thank you. This is not editable, I have to sudo it. So I can add an import. This syntax with a square bracket tells Nixos to look at the Nix-Bitcoin channel. And the command that basically watch the Nix configuration file of my machine and rebuild the system is this Nixos rebuild switch. There are different versions, something like to dry run the test, some others like switch basically compile the configuration and activate immediately afterwards. And will be created a new group row inside your machine. If something goes wrong, you can start it back from there. Okay, when I define, when I insert this, something it's already necessary. I think you can do. I thought I can do it in 2 steps, but basically when you import Nix-Bitcoin, you have to at least define this line. So I will add also this line. Let's see if this time goes better. Yes. Okay, the new configuration is active. I should have some directory here. Yeah. Basically, this command, Nix-Bitcoin generate secrets, created a directory with secrets. But not just that. As you can see, I have no permission with my user to see the directory. So every option you have on Nix-Bitcoin are with privacy and security in mind. So to access the directory, I have to use, for example, this, the sudo to see things that I have here. Now, how can I install a Bitcoin node and create a systemd services that use it? It's just another line of code. I can rebuild. So it should be quite fast right now because I did some tests before before doing this presentation. So what it's happening is basically that the build so that I have everything needed in the Nix store because I didn't delete those files. So the Bitcoin executable, it's already there. So it has not to build it again. Even if it was the first time, probably if something comes from a public source like this, it was already built by someone, and I would have downloaded directly the executable without building it. I mean, of course, I can force my machine to build it, but it's quite safe to download it from a binary cache. Why? Because everything it's committed, so you have an hash. If something that I download does not verify the hash, it's just not the binary I was expecting, right? So basically, it's quite safe to use a binary cache with a Nix system in place, and the fact that every dependency is committed to the hash of the directory. So, okay, we basically, with this command, we basically installed Bitcoin, and we have, I don't know if you are familiar with systemd, but this is the command to see the logs of a system service you are running. Maybe with -f, you see that the end of the debug log of Bitcoin, which is failing to do something. Okay. Okay, I have to launch with reindex. I think I can. So what happening here is that in my previous run, basically I started syncing the Bitcoin in the varly Bitcoin D directory, and when it starts from scratch, it creates some XOR key, and which, well, I just can stop Bitcoin and delete this directory so that it can start from scratch. Double check with -r, it's better. Okay, let's start again. Another error. So this is the Murphy law. You can try everything beforehand, but no, sorry. Okay, now we expect a directory. Let's try to So I'm trying to do the Windows trick. So basically shutting down and restarting. I should have rolled it back to show you the functionality. Okay, let's see if, Okay, now it's syncing block headers, so it seems that it started correctly. Of course, we have time to sync all the blockchain, right? Okay, so it is running under the hood. So now we simply started Bitcoin with default configuration. Of course, I can, for example, enable pruning. So basically, you can, this is the Nix language as I was speaking before. You can use the dot syntax to define a field inside the set. Otherwise, you have to do this syntax. So this is equivalent to this, but I can specify other field at this level, of course. So I can specify to prune the blockchain, and I just switch again. Note that when I switch, he understands that I changed something in my configuration. So I changed the Bitcoin D services. So I didn't change anything else. All the other services in my configuration are still running. But he recognized that something changed in the configuration of Bitcoin D, so he stopped Bitcoin D, and it started again it. So still running, yeah, somewhere. Let's see if this works. You can see I have the prune option, right? So how do I see all the option of a service? Because this is not like the Bitcoin conf file exactly. So this is a field of the set in Nix that generate the Bitcoin conf accordingly. In this case, it's basically the same line. The difference is here in Nix, if I put a string inside prune, the build will fail. Let's check it. Let's try it. So if I do this, Nix should fail. It's not Bitcoin that it doesn't start, but the compilation of Nix should fail. So it's aware of the syntax. So it's not exactly the same to see that. Okay, so I see that it's not a type of unsigned integer. So yeah, a string it's not good there. So I can fix it and build again. Okay. So as I said, okay, here there is a type checking, but Nix can do much more. For example, I can show you how who use Let's Encrypt. Yes, okay. So usually, basically use Let's Encrypt to have your website, to have HTTPS on your website. And they do basically a challenge to prove that you are the owner of a domain. And if you do that, they issue a certificate for you that you can install in your server. Of course, there are tools that simplify that. In Nix, all this stuff is done by a simple property. So sorry, this one. Force SSL is to redirect HTTP to HTTPS, but if you use this line, basically it's doing Let's Encrypt for you. Even a lot of more complex things, now that I see that this one, for example, you can set up multiple IP for your DNS, and when the browser reads that DNS, it will try both of them. It will try the first. If it works, that's OK. Otherwise, it will try the second. OK? This is nice, especially if you have a static site, so you improve redundancy. If one of your servers goes down and you open the website from Google Chrome or the modern browser, you will see it working. So it's a nice thing. This stuff complicates a bit the Let's Encrypt issue, right? Because when you do this challenge, what if Let's Encrypt is asking the other IP for the proof, right? So it complicates a bit. And to handle this on Nix, you just have to specify the IP of the other server of yours. So this is not Bitcoin, but it's just to explain how powerful can be sometimes Nix to define things. Another thing, it's when we saw, how do you know if you have a service on Nix, which are the options available? So you can basically go through the source, or you can use this site to see, for example, all the properties. You can set up the Tor proxy, the TX index, a bunch of stuff, the port, the threads, the address. But sometimes you have exactly that option that it's not handled by Nix. In that case, usually you have basically a final Nix configuration, which is basically append this text file to the Bitcoin conf if the flag is not available as a Nix property. So okay, that's nice. I'm running Bitcoin. I can do it in many ways, but I would like also to have a core Lightning that speak with my Bitcoin node, and I don't want to specify on which port my Bitcoin is running. I don't want to specify the cookie for core Lightning. I just do the enable trick. So this is something else. I can use the enable trick just to install also core Lightning. Again, note that I'm not defining any way like common, I mean where Bitcoin is listening and where core Lightning have to ask to Bitcoin Core for blocks, for transaction, and for stuff. I'm just enabling Nix take care of those stuff. Let's switch. Again, if this was the first time something would have been built, something would have been downloaded from the binary cache. Take some time. My Switzerland credit ended up. That's strange. Let's try again from scratch, another Windows trick. Okay, no, the command is running under the hood. You know what? I can show you, no, I cannot show that. Test, build, rebuild, reactivate, edit. Yeah, something is happening. So you cannot see it, but I'm going to reboot and choose the previous configuration so that we will see that you cannot basically, oh, you can see it, mess up with your system too much. Any question in the meantime? So can you speak louder or?
Wait.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I never created a Bitcoin node, but do you have a documentation on the way you proceeded on Nix?
So the best place, it's probably the Nix-Bitcoin site I showed you before. So yeah, I think I have an internet issue. It's going very slow. So yeah, here there are some examples, which my slides are just one of the way you can try things. You can also try, as I was mentioning, basically to deploy a virtual machine, so that even if you don't have an IXO system, you can running the node inside the virtual machine. What else? Yeah, there are probably the best way is to deploy a container and experiment with it. So let's see how the system. So Bitcoin is running. Let's see Lightning. Lightning is running too. Okay, now I want, for example, I can continue to do some example. For example, now we have Core Lightning that is talking to the node. We can install Ride Lightning, which is a plugin to control your Lightning node. So let's hoping that my internet will be enough. Sorry for the switches. Let's wait a bit this time. So the slides are available on my website, but also on, I think, on the drive of the conference. Yeah, it's taking a while. What else? So yeah, another thing on this, you can see all the software that is available on Nix-Bitcoin. You have Core Lightning, but you also have L&D. You have Lightning Loop, Lightning Pool. If you have managed to install all those things, you know that you have to configure things or use like prepared solution like Umbrella or stuff like that. You have BTC Pay Server, Join Market, Mempool Explorer, and everything usually use the best setup for a privacy or a security perspective. You can also If you want to expose your node only via Tor, you can set up in that way. And yeah, that's mostly it. Let's see if, yeah, I think I have very slow internet, so it's hanging a little bit. But yeah, the last thing I was to show you that you can run the core the Lightning, you can call it from your browser to control your Lightning node.
I have a question.
Yes.
Here you are using directly Nix-OS on your laptop. How convenient it can be used on a daily basis for other purposes than just Bitcoin? Because I see here the real advantage for server purposes, because you can have a lot of things, lots of application running. So being able to reproduce it could be very useful. Is it the same on a daily basis for your personal laptop?
So basically, you can install the Nix tool without having the Nix operating system. In my experience, I knew about the idea of Nix. I was very attracted. I tried multiple times using the Nix tool, but in the end, I was not entering the flow until I used the Nixos both for my laptop and for my servers. That is my experience. So yeah, initially the jump is big, because especially if you are a developer, you many times, if some repository is not set up for Nix, you basically cannot run it. So you download it, you see the, like, sometimes, I mean, if there are Docker, yeah, okay, you can launch Docker, no problem. But if you have tools required on your machine, usually on Nix they don't work. But if you set up the project, for example, with a flake.nix file, at that point, there is some proof of work you have to do, but at that point, when you enter the repository, the flake.nix define exactly the build environment you need for that project. And it will work for sure. So after, let's say, jumping the first barrier, you get the advantage of choosing such kind of system. So yeah, you can use it without using Nix-OS. In my experience, I didn't really jump into it until that. But maybe it depends on you. You can also, as I mentioned before, you can run for example, for the node for core Lightning, you can run a virtual machine. So you have Nixos, but inside a virtual machine. So yeah.
And is there like a lot of tools that you are using on a daily basis that are not available on Nix-OS? Or
so basically, yeah, another thing that I can show you. So I am maintaining stuff, my software substantially. For example, yeah, should be a very fast Box Explorer because very basic. But with this internet, I cannot. You cannot trust me. So this is a Rust repository. Let me think. So as you can see, I have a flake.nix. Let's do a small change on my website and deploy into production with an Nixos flow. Okay, so it's kind of a scary thing, right? Okay, I don't see anything here. So let's change the about page to be with 2T. Okay. This is some HTML produced by Rust, so it's a process. It's not a web page. So there is a binary that it's serving on the backend. So I change one line. So I will probably have some issue with the internet speed, but So I have this change. I can commit. I can push on GitHub. Sorry. Then there is a there is a middle step. Basically, when you have some multiple binaries that build from Nix, and you use different version, you can end up like having a lot of space in the Nix store. So to use somehow similar dependency, what you do is you do a Nix file which define all of your binaries so that they will use similar dependency, basically. So I pushed the change on GitHub. Then I have this this middle flake where I update. So this command is to check if there is something new on GitHub for the FBBE repo, and doesn't find nothing because I didn't push.
No, the push, there were an error, a permission error.
Thank you. No, it went through? Oh yeah, there was an error. Thank you. Maybe we have another Wi-Fi, because this one, it was not working super well before. Yeah. Ah, sorry, no, that's my fault. Oh, that's bad. Okay, let's do this way. So I basically just added a password for SSH so that I can git push with my SSH account. Is there a registration? I have to change my password, right? Well, that's annoying.
And maybe here on a more general aspect, at which point you think that doing this initial jump worth the jump? Like what has been the defining situation for you to do the jump and not still using the Nix inside other virtual machine or Docker?
Yeah, it depends on your goal, I think, on what's your what do you do with your laptop? What do you do if you have servers? That's, as you mentioned, yeah, for a server it's even more appropriate. As I said, until I have it on both my laptop and my server, I didn't really did the jump in the end. So it really depends on what you do in your. I think if you are a developer, after the first barrier, it pays off a lot because you basically you don't have the problem anymore after you set up everything. Okay, so let's see. In the meantime, if you have a question, please, because here maybe it takes a while. It's basically impossible, but in the end, the flow is, now that I have that I changed this repository, I can basically change the reference dash in my Nixos configuration on my server. Okay, let's not go through this because it's too slow. I show you, you have to trust me. If you want, I can show you later. Yeah, even SSA. Basically, I changed the commit hash inside my configuration. That configuration fetch my GitHub repository, see that change. It builds the software. This time it has to build because it has never been built before. So it cannot get from the binary cache. It stops the service, it restarts the service, and bam, production. So I think I find it extremely useful in my daily workflow. It depends on your workflow. Some other question? No? Who is gonna use Nix now? Hey, yeah, it was worth it. Thank you.